Hey HCDA, and welcome back to Captain of Industry. Last time around I redesigned my entire factory. That only took me like 6 hours or so in terms of real life time. But anyway, we redesigned the entire factory and we're now using balancers and stuff like that, and look at it all nice and clean, and don't look at the foundations. But other than that, the actual factory is laid out nice and clean. We have some bridges in there, we have dedicated districts to produce certain stuff that we can easily expand. So all in all, I am pretty happy about that. What I am a little less happy about is the fact that we are now completely out of oil. As you can see, these oil pumps are not doing anything anymore. Now, we do actually have access to the secondary line of oil over here. It's not really anywhere close by. Let me check, do I have another location? No, it's just this one location. But at the speed this is running out, I'm actually figuring, well, we can use this, and we probably should use that anyway. But we're going to have to transition to using oil from the oil platforms. Now, I am actually already bringing in oil over here. So as you can see, we have a pretty decent stockpile of oil. If I look at my oil platform over here, we have enough oil over here. We actually have a secondary platform that we're not using, but we could be using, that has a lot of oil on top of that as well. So long story short, I don't think we necessarily have an immediate oil problem, assuming we can get that oil to the mainland quickly enough. Speaking of mainland, does this island qualify as the mainland? So, well, I'm just gonna go with that. Now, if we want to do that, I do need a second cargo depot. I actually already have a second ship, we're just not actually using it. And we should be able to fit that in if we move this one over a little bit, and then maybe we have to remove the trading dock, things like that. That probably is going to sort itself out. However, I noticed we have a secondary problem. This could be the last episode, I'm not entirely sure, because things are kind of falling apart, it looks like, but maintenance is once again dropping. Now, why is that happening? Let me see. This belt looks suspiciously empty. Which belt is that? That's one for the electronics. Well, we have a pretty decent amount of electronics here, so we can always just hook this up temporarily to make sure we're using this stockpile. But why are we not producing electronics? Again, there's an empty belt here, and that's empty because why? Oh, we don't have copper? Well, this production facility seems to be kind of not doing anything. It's supposed to be making the copper, right? Yeah, it is, but... oh, I think I know what the problem is. We're not actually actively requesting this, and that means that the trucks are doing pretty much anything else that is not related to this. So yeah, obviously then it's not going to be working. Actually the same holds for the water, the same holds for the acid. Oh man. This should have been done when I was building it, but apparently I forgot. Let's see if this fixes the problem. While we're at it, I just realized that I reset the priorities in one of the previous episodes in such a way that everything was, like, basically the inputs were a little bit higher prioritized than the outputs. Let me see if I need to go fix that again. Okay, so I made sure that there's actually a request for copper ore and coal now, and it seems like we're once again producing at least some outputs when it comes to copper. Now, I just realized I don't actually have an output storage unit for this copper either. That apparently, again, I forgot, so let's go and fix that as well. Okay, there we do. That should do the trick for that one. Now, let me see. Do I need to get involved over here? It seems like we're once again producing some maintenance, so as long as this doesn't completely run dry, we should be fine. The number is going up, so okay, that's one crisis averted for now at least. Okay, now let's deal with the oil. We can place the trading dock right here on the southern part of our peninsula. That's not a peninsula, it's an island. Anyway, out of the way. I don't think anything actually gets delivered to here. And maybe if it does, we're not doing that on an active basis anyway. So right now we just have the trading dock, it's out of the way, so we can deal with the cargo depots over here. Okay, so let's get rid of the oil rigs over here. I also replaced the storage units over here for the lime. Oh, that actually does mean, of course, I do need to... oh, that's actually done automatically by copy pasting as well. I was about to say I do need to make sure the routes are in place, but that seems to be handled. So as soon as these things are actually empty, these should be removed. We have a lot of room here then, so we can actually start moving the cargo depots as well. Okay, that's everything removed. The cargo ship is taking off because it has no longer any ports. So let's see if we can replace it with some new stuff. And look at that, the cargo ships are once again arriving because we have cargo depots. Now honestly, these things cannot be built as close together as I was hoping. Actually, I might be able to fit in the trading dock in between here, although probably that's going to complain about having access to the ocean once again. Speaking of which, I actually had to remove one of my liquid dumps because it was being blocked by the ship, so I will actually need to delete this little part over here as well and fix that as well. Well, I am pretty much out of diesel, so I'm hoping that the import that we just did from the ship is going to save us because, well, basically I am cutting it a little bit close here. Also, for some reason, the second fluid model hasn't been actually built, and that's because I don't have enough construction parts 3, which is why, let's see, we do have a little bit of that in here. Why are we not producing any more? What are you missing? What are you missing? It seems that you are missing construction parts 2, which we are producing. Oh, but I set the priority the other way around. So let's temporarily split that up between the two. Yeah, that seems to be working at least partially like intended. So then hopefully we should see that problem being resolved pretty soon as well. Why are you not working? You have an issue. Sure, vehicles can't reach this, but vehicles are not supposed to be reaching you anyway. Oh, right. Well, I was actually building a balancer here that apparently never got built, so that should fix that problem. Debugging your production lines is always fun in any game, especially if you just did a full rebuild. Well, I'm considering running low on fuel. The ship is now leaving on low fuel, thanks to some investments on my part. And well, I am actually importing the oil pretty efficiently, but honestly the real problem here is not that I don't have enough production of oil, but that I just don't have the ships driving up and down the coast fast enough to do so. And still, this fluid module is not finished yet, even though I put it to priority 1. So every single construction part that we're now producing should be going towards that specific purpose. Okay, the second one is done now as well. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure we need the other one. I mean, the stuff can still sit on the ship. Actually, let's just continue to build this and see, because I do think just being able to offload the oil fast just means the ships can go drive up and down or sail up and down faster. It's probably going to be a bit more efficient. Speaking of which, I am completely out of stuff here, so let's hope I'm not going to spiral out of control. Interestingly enough, thanks to all my expansion of my various production facilities, I'm actually low on workers now as well. So I once again started recruitment through my beacon over here, so that hopefully we should get some more workers coming in soon. Now, actually, I believe, well, let me check, we can also just add, there we go, we can add some people to our island from these various villages. There we go. So that's an easy way to kind of just buy some stuff. And we have plenty of unity to go around, so might as well start utilizing some of that. I'm actually also going to start using my secondary oil platform just because I can. I'm also inclined to upgrade this again just because I can. I don't want to be running out of anything. So upgrading this is probably a safe bet as well, which means I need to instruct my ship. Where do I do this again? Start loading the ship. There we go. So that this ship is then going to upgrade my platform. Now I have 2 platforms running with plenty of oil production, I believe. So as long as we can actually pick that up fast enough, which is honestly not a given, but still, I think we should not have any fuel problems. We are slowly gaining a little bit of fuel. We don't have any unfueled vehicles anymore, and we have a tiny little bit of storage, and we are still in the process of unloading our ships. We have some oil in inventory, so yeah, I think we were able to just stave off disaster there just about, but that's the only thing that counts. Okay, one little annoyance of mine is that whenever I tell something to upgrade here, then I need to go to my shipyard and actually tell it to start loading. Then at some point I get a message that it's done loading, and then I need to go back to this and say, deliver cargo here. I mean, this could have been just in one screen, right? I mean, anyway, it's working, but still. In the meanwhile, while we're trying to deal with all this other stuff, let's start working on some new research. Now, I initially just started clicking things from the top down, but I probably need to prioritize some other things because I just realized we have thermal desalination over here, which is going to help us make water more efficiently if I understand this correctly. So that is probably something worth doing, because of what I want to do, assuming we are not dealing with any disasters anymore, is make a similar new layout for all of my oil and water production over here as I've done over here. It's probably not going to be as large, but what I want to do is make it more efficient and make it more easy to scale. Specifically, for example, I have some power production built in here, which is kind of inconvenient. Long story short, there's a lot of things here that I think we can further optimize. Now, I just realized that that does mean that I need to somehow deal with all of this stuff that is now kind of getting in the way of my ships. Wait, hold on, I'm completely out of maintenance once again. Why? Why? Well, oh, okay, now it's the... what is it again? Mechanical parts that I'm missing? Why am I not making those? Because apparently I don't have enough steel coming in? Why am I not getting enough steel? Oh man, because, oh, okay, it's a balancing issue once again. Well, the balancers are very nice, but they do need some work, at least some getting used to on my part. So let's split. I do need the iron as well, but let's split it between the iron and the steel rather than just prioritizing the iron, because as you can see, I'm producing plenty, but it's not going in the correct direction. Are all of these actually doing something? Why are you not working? Hello? What am I missing here? What am I missing? Oh, wait, the, oh, this is a problem. So the slag is actually stacking up, so this is why you're not producing anything anymore. And that can then also probably hold for you, yep. So let's make sure this is being dumped. I do have slag set to be able to dump, right? Yeah, I do. There we go, someone just picked something up. Okay, so yeah, basically what I'm doing right now is kind of rebalancing all my old systems just to make sure that everything is again working like intended. Look at that, the slag is now also being reprocessed. Yeah, long story short, at least now we're producing something again. Looking good, looking good. There we go, there is some maintenance parts once again, more are being produced, so yeah, maintenance problems should again be solved. Honestly, something I didn't realize until now is that a single trip for a cargo ship takes 120 fuel for a single journey. So even though I'm getting a net benefit out of that, because oil is of course turned into that, into diesel I should say, that actually means that it's not quite as efficient as I was hoping for. So that means it might be a little bit more urgent than I initially thought to make sure I start utilizing this oil patch that I have over here. Now what we can actually do, considering we also have some water over here, is maybe, just maybe, think of a layout over here, making use of this space over here to kind of set up a, what do you call that, like an oil processing, water processing, desalination type of setup over here. Now that does mean we need to bring in the seawater from somewhere as well, although we have some water over here. Actually, we have way more water than I initially thought, and I'm not utilizing most of this. Again, probably something I should have been doing from the beginning, but yeah, let's think about that for a moment and start working on that as well. Hopefully doing that redesign is also going to solve another problem I currently have, because I keep dropping below 1,000 people, because every time just anything happens with my health, I actually start losing people. As you can see, I just dropped to 0, so this is no change. But whenever anything goes up or there's any type of flu or whatever, I just keep dropping people, so I'm actually losing people faster than I can bring them in. It's not a huge difference, but it's also pretty much preventing me from expanding. Now the thing I can do about that, I'm not entirely sure, because as you can see, my food is turning orange every now and then, but why, I actually don't entirely know. I have a stockpile of every single type of food I'm currently producing, which is 4 different types of food. I'm not, well, apparently I have tofu as well. I'm not entirely sure how I'm supposed to make that, but maybe I need to add in another type of food. We have eggs over here, and I do believe we have access to chickens or something. Let me see. We have the soybeans actually, which we are producing. So I could... Okay, so water plus sulfur plus limestone is tofu and animal feed. That is a pretty complex recipe, honestly. However, we are producing all of these things, so we could actually easily start producing some tofu as well. Oh wow, that actually made a huge difference. We are now actually producing a little bit of tofu, so as you can see, we have some of that in production as well. We are now satisfying protein demands as well. And as you can see, I'm now at 9 health, so I mean, it's not a huge margin, but it should be more than enough to ensure that I'm at least not dropping on workers anymore. 8 health. Well, again, it's not a huge margin, but it feels like a pretty huge margin compared to what I've been running on so far. Although I do have to say some of that is that for some reason my water pollution dropped down again a little bit, so there is a couple of things going on that I'm not completely sure I understand still. We also have a landfill pollution that is pretty high, which is probably because of this area over here. Which means that maybe I should consider starting to fill that in. Oh man, there's so many things to do at the same time. I am getting stressed out, guys. I'm getting stressed out a little bit, just a little bit. Right, I completely forgot that in order to build this anything close to this oil over here, I actually need to get rid of the trees. This is not a game where you can just build over trees, which hasn't been a thing I had to worry about for, I don't know, hours and hours and hours, because I cleared out all the trees in this area. But yeah, I actually need to start clearing out these trees over here. Speaking of which, the trees that I am clearing out over here are actually not going anywhere, because I'm producing way more wood than I'm actually using, because literally the only place they can deliver it right now is the production of my construction materials over here. So I need to go set up a wood factory as well. Okay, so let's see, how am I going to do that? I'm going to need a storage unit for the wood to be delivered to. Then I'm going to use a flat balancer to make sure that the main wood I am going to be using is actually transported right back into a secondary facility, so that way I can make sure that I always have some storage of this, and then this can then be transported all the way over here to my construction materials, and I'll set up the corresponding routes to do that in a minute. But let's see, what can we use wood to make? I think this should pretty much cover it. So I have some coal makers over here that are going to make, well, coal. It's going to be causing some more pollution, though, so I'm not 100% sure about this. But at the same time, I'm also making some wood chips that we can use to start burning. Now, honestly, this feels like something I should probably have done a very, very long time ago, because this would have given me a huge amount of coal. The wood chips are a more recent thing I can actually make, but still, the fact that we can make some wood chips and actually use that to burn, all of that means that all of the coal problems that we had in all of the previous episodes might have been avoided by doing something like this. Anyway, I've done it now. Let's hope it's still soon enough. Right, now this is nice and all, but I don't actually have the workers to man all of this stuff. So yeah, I can still recruit some more people, so we don't have an immediate problem, but I'm going to have to go and expand my town because, well, I need to fit in more people. Now, luckily, I did leave myself some room to expand. I'm just going to have to fiddle around a little bit with these pipelines. Okay, so now this is up and running. We're producing a little bit of coal and chips and things like that, although most of it is still going into the production of the construction parts, because honestly I need a lot of that. Every time I start building that, I of course need more of it. And now I have another problem. Honestly, we're barely scraping by with diesel. We are scraping by, so it's not a disaster just yet. We're very close to that point anyway. I am now running my ships actually on full fuel again, rather than on low fuel. Hopefully the extra speed on the trips helps to make sure we actually are getting in the oil. But yeah, basically I need to start clearing out this little forest over here. And as you can see, I am making some progress there, so we're not completely hopeless. And that means we can probably start pumping out some oil pretty soon here. I am also expanding my town a little bit, and yes, I know I can actually start building a town elsewhere as well, but that would mean I would have to duplicate all of this stuff again. That means I will need even more workers, I will need even more power, because power is also a problem. So I hope, it is actually more efficient to just keep building a larger town. We can expand it in this direction as well. We can take out some of these rainwater harvesters. We need to, but for now, I just upgraded my town quite a bit. Honestly, I might have overdone it. I actually don't think this is a problem as long as you don't have too many people in here, and we're definitely going to need more people in here. Okay, so there we go. This should fix that problem, at least for the moment, and that also means I can start working on my processing facilities to replace the more crappy ones we have all the way over here. Now, the one thing I'm not entirely sure about is whether that means that... Oh, this is not actually leaving now. Okay, just run on low fuel then. Oh, that actually means it can leave with almost no fuel? That's interesting. Not entirely sure then, in that case, if I want to turn that on or off. I'll just leave it as it is. Anyway, what I'm wondering about is, should I be building my distillation and stuff like that over here, or should I just move it all the way over here? Now, I am going to be pumping up oil from this thing over here. How much oil is there actually in here? Only 40,000. I mean, that sounds like a lot. It probably isn't. Anyway, my reasoning here is that what I could do is build my oil processing over here like I was originally planning to, and then build my water processing over here. The problem with that is that, as you can see, I actually do need some water in here as well. Well, actually, I mostly need steam in here. I don't necessarily need water for... I don't think I need water for anything, actually. Maybe I need it for some of the recipes. There's quite a few recipes, honestly. It's a little bit overwhelming. So, in that case, maybe what we do is we build water and power and steam production over here. And then the oil processing, stuff like that. And if we need steam, we can always just have a giant pipeline across the entire... island to get the stuff where it needs to go. But yeah, not entirely sure about this, honestly. Right, so I'm also about to unlock a huge amount of new recipes in order to do stuff with oil, I should probably say. So apparently we can use light oil with some steam now in order to make naphtha, as well as fuel gas. Two items I'm actually currently not making. The naphtha can actually be used with some sulfur, which I am already producing in order to make rubber, and there doesn't seem to be any pollution involved in that, so that's interesting. I also have a secondary way to make rubber that does produce some wastewater and uses some coal. Not entirely sure why I would want to do that, but because this recipe seems way more efficient. But anyway, actually it uses the same amount of naphtha, but you just replace the coal with the sulfur, and you do have some pollution. What else do we have? We can actually use the naphtha to make steam with a huge amount of pollution, so I don't think we want to do this. Not entirely sure. It's probably better than dumping the oil into the ocean, which I think is what we're doing right now. What else? Diesel and steam is naphtha. That's probably not something I want to do right now, because diesel is super precious to me, but it's interesting to have that. And actually there's a couple of other things coming up really soon as well, so I am going to have to find and figure out what to actually do with all of my different types of oil, sour water and stuff like that. Okay, so let's be a little bit strategic about this and just take it step by step. First of all, oil. We're definitely going to want to use oil to make diesel, which we have only 2 recipes for, and we are only going to get these 2 recipes, so that's at least pretty straightforward there. This is the base recipe that we were using before. That's also producing a huge amount of wastewater and pollution, which is something I want to start to try and get under control a little bit, because, well, my health is still in danger. well, the health of my people is anyway. So we're going to go for this particular recipe, and that is just where we're going to start. When we are producing this, we are going to get medium oil, heavy oil, and sour water. So let's just check the medium oil. This seems pretty straightforward as well. This is what we're producing. We can toss it in a boiler, but I don't think we're going to ever want to do that. Well, at least not for now. So we need to just add in some more steam and get the diesel and a light oil going. Okay, so that means we're going to be producing the diesel and the light oil. The light oil we can just burn. That's what we're doing now, or at least we're just putting it up in the air. We could also throw it in a boiler, but once again, that actually produces quite a bit of exhaust. I'm actually not entirely sure how 24 air pollution compares to 72 exhaust. It's just 1-to-1, or I actually was looking through the explanations in the game, but I'm not entirely sure how that works. So by all means, let me know in the comments. But more importantly, what we are going to want to do, and this is actually exactly the 12 light oil that we're producing, we're going to want to produce naphtha, I think. From this, there's no pollution going on with that, and it just gives us two new things to work with. However, that does mean that I need to wait a little bit for this to be done, so I'll just need to postpone this and start building on everything else while we do that. No, it seems I actually accidentally stumbled into the answer, because when I clicked my smokestacks, it actually tells me how much exhaust translates into how much air pollution. So it seems to be half the amount of exhaust turns into air pollution. Which brings me back to the heavy oil, because I can just flare that off and that will cause 30 pollution, but 36 of that combined with water would produce steam and 90 exhaust, and that means that if I did my math correctly, this 36 would produce 90 exhaust would be 45 air pollution. But this is 24, this is 36, so it's actually the exact same amount of air pollution, just communicated in a very bad way. But that actually means that if I'm going to be polluting the air anyway, at least until I unlock different things to do with that, because look, we can get to make more diesel soon. Anyway, that means that I should probably be using this in order to fuel a gas boiler. Which leaves the sour water, which of course we are going to be turning into the only thing we can actually turn it into, which is, well, the only three things we can turn it into: sulfur, ammonia, and water. And again, we're going to need some steam in order to do that. Which brings us to sulfur, which has a ton of different options we can actually do. So we can either make it like we're doing now, or later on we can apparently scrub the exhaust, make it with some water, and make it into sulfur, carbon dioxide, and steam, along with some pollution. But this is definitely less pollution that we would be making by making the exhaust just fly up in the air. So however, that is for the future. We are going to have to figure out what to do with this. So we can either use diesel to make rubber, which seems like a very bad deal, considering we have better ways to make rubber in a moment with the naphtha and stuff like that. But we also definitely want to start making some acid still. So I think those will be the two main recipes we're going to be using it for. Okay, interesting thing to note here is that we actually have plenty of oil. Well, we have plenty of oil now. We're just not producing diesel fast enough to start building up a stockpile again. We're just consuming pretty much the same amount of diesel that we are producing. So yeah, I would definitely need to upgrade this. Also means that just having one of these distillation stages that I initially set up in my production facility, the new one I'm producing, is not going to be enough. 2 is probably also not going to be enough, so I'm going to need more than that. And this just shows you that you definitely want to set this up in such a way you can easily scale this up, which this is not. Okay, so here's the first part of the setup for this build. I am making all of the medium and heavy oil over here. Then the sour water is being consumed by the sour water stripper, making sulfur. The sulfur is going to go into this balancer over here, prioritizing the mixer for the acid production. However, that only needs a tiny little bit of sulfur, so it's actually mostly going to go into this storage unit over here that I will definitely assign to collect the sulfur. We have rubber plans for that sulfur, I suppose, but anyway, this will take care of it for now. And then on the other side, we are transforming the medium oil into diesel and collecting the diesel over here. Now, of course, I didn't actually connect like half of the in and outputs here because we need steam and oil and stuff like that. But I just wanted to make sure I had kind of the layout going first. And I think this is a pretty decent, nice start. It's again a lot more spacious than it needs to be, but that just makes it easier to tell what's going on. It looks a little bit more clean. And I don't think space is our issue, at least not so far. Right, so this might actually be a little bit overkill after all, because I am also making fuel gas along with the naphtha, and it turns out that fuel gas plus a little bit of oxygen, which should be simple enough, actually makes diesel as well. So actually, let me see, how much am I making here? So 18, and then the other recipe is 36. So 36, so 2 of these actually make 24 diesel as well. So maybe that means we can actually still get away with just 2 of these distillation columns. And that means I can take a massive amount of this stuff out, which is actually not a problem because it felt like I was making way too much stuff here. So I could actually take all of this out again. Oh man, it kind of hurts a little, but I think it's probably safer to go with this design first. What I really like about this recipe is that not only are we getting diesel, we're also getting water. So actually all of this is super efficient, super useful stuff. And well, I just unlocked it, so it's not that long that I can actually make this, but you really feel like you're making progress by, well, making cleaner recipes, making more progress, making more use out of the stuff you're already producing. So very much of a feel-good recipe right here. Okay, so what else? We needed some actual oxygen, and the oxygen can actually also be used to combine with the ammonia we get from the sour water stripper in order to make fertilizer. I know we've done this before, but it's kind of all clicking together now how this is actually supposed to work. I mean, it's looking pretty nice and neat and organized if you ask me. I'm still not quite done yet though. For example, I need steam, and I looked through all the different ways you can actually generate steam, and what I came to the conclusion, and once again, correct me in the comments if I made a mistake there, is that it is probably worth it just to make it from solid materials. So wood chips is, I think, probably the best way to do this. I might need to produce a little bit more of that, but honestly that's not going to be the biggest problem. It's just a matter of building some more of those harvesters. It's a pretty pollution effective way to do that. Biomass is currently just annoying to produce, although I am producing a little bit of that, so I just turned on the recipe just in case. I actually need to get rid of my animal feed, so I'm actually burning that. Not entirely sure if that's what you're supposed to do, but I have no other use for it for the moment. And it was actually blocking my production, so turn that on as well. And then just as a backup, we can always switch back to coal. Now I actually only need 1 of these boilers to actually power all this. So that is very nice and efficient. And I need water. Now I just put it in the storage here, but what I can actually do is I can actually get water from right over here. And there is actually a lot of water recycling going on in this system as well. So I need 48 water, but I'm also getting 21 water back from the sour water stripper and 6 water from the cracking unit. So I get 27 water back for the, what was it? 48 I am investing. So it still costs 21 water per 60 seconds, but that's not actually as bad as I initially thought it would be, and that's like a couple of pumps could easily keep up with that, and I can always add in some rainwater if I need to. So that means I can start connecting all of this up to the steam as well. Oh, right, I actually forgot about the acid, so we're actually using 30 water here as well. So I'm probably going to have to add in a couple of those rainwater things as well. But anyway, my things still hold. This 30 water is almost completely absorbed by the water we're generating within it. So it's basically just the water we need to actually start generating the steam. Okay, so I think this should cover all the diesel, fuel production, rubber production, silver production, acid production. Am I forgetting anything? I think that's the majority of it, but yeah, that was quite a bit of a project. It doesn't look like much if you look at it like that, but yeah, it's quite vital, and it's a pretty nice upgrade over what I had going already, even though, honestly, looking at it, I was actually expecting I would need to scale this up a lot more, and it's pretty much again what I'm producing here, just a little neater than it was before. Now looking at this, I was actually also producing the paper here, which I think is the only thing that I am no longer producing. If I take all of this out, I can leave this power production up and running for now. That's not really a problem. So yeah, I will probably need to make sure I keep producing some paper as well. Well, actually, never mind. I forgot that the paper is actually only made from limestone and wood chips. So the only reason that it was in the middle of that other production was because it was using the same steam. So I can actually leave this one intact, remove all the other stuff, but I will probably want to do that after I make sure this thing is up and running. Oh man, this is not the moment where I want to run into fuel problems. The problem is I am not entirely sure what's happening here. Apparently this is not producing any longer because I don't have steam, but I didn't change anything, so why are we no longer getting steam? It seems to me, well, this one is actually out of water. How are you out of water? Oh, you're out of water because you're out of coal. Why are you out of coal? Okay, I am still mining coal here, aren't I? I think so. What are you carrying around? Oh, you're carrying around slag? Why are you carrying around slag? What are you doing? Why is everyone here carrying around... Oh, wait, I realized it now. A little while ago, I had this set differently. And I was actually using the leveling tool. I've been using that quite a bit. But because the leveling tool was trying to fill in this thing that was actually caving in, if that makes any sense. I was mining here, but then the cargo trucks were actually dumping slag back in to try and restore this wall. In hindsight, and this is again something I should have probably done from the beginning, I should probably have been mining like layer by layer in a larger area. That way you don't have as much cave-ins and stuff like that happening, and that just makes the whole mining experience, I think, a lot more convenient. However, that also means that all the stuff that they had been dumping in here is now being cleared out by the excavators that should be mining for coal. Okay, so I'm getting completely spammed by error messages, but at least we seem to be getting to the part where we're kind of getting through all the slag and all the other stuff I dumped over here, and we're once again getting some coal. I actually reassigned my excavators just working on flattening the terrain to mining coal for a moment, just to make sure I get some coal in my inventory. Oh man, I'm not gonna lie, it's a huge mess at the moment, mostly because I'm still not producing enough coal. I am also trying to build a lot of stuff while I don't have the workers for it, and I'm also going to be using a lot of the construction materials that I already spent while making the initial build over here. So doing a large rebuild like this while you're also struggling to get enough resources to do all of that is not ideal. I'm actually wondering, if a wall like this collapses, does it actually waste all the resources in there, or does the stuff just drop down and you don't actually lose anything. It's just really inconvenient. I mean, I've already had some buildings that got too near to the edge collapse, and mostly the storage units and things like that. So I know that that happens, but I'm actually not entirely sure what happens to the resources, because the way I'm doing it now is I'm completely ignoring things like the ability to build walls to actually avoid the collapsing. But I'm just wondering if that is mostly meant to protect your buildings, or if that's also to protect your resources. It's interesting question. Okay, so I think everything has been built. We are mostly lacking workers, but everything else seems to have been more or less stabilized. It was very scary there for a moment, but I think that means I can start deleting the build I have over here. Alright, this is starting to look a lot cleaner than it did before. There's some random buildings, of course, still left because there's still materials in there, but where is it? Over here. As you can see, we are actually now doing pretty well on workers. We have a little bit of a surplus, not much of a surplus to speak of, but well, it's a surplus nonetheless. And I am having a little bit of power trouble, and that is because, well, my diesel factories have been rebuilt, but they're not actually working just yet. So let me see if there's anything going wrong here. We do have materials coming in. By the looks of it, we have oil, we have water, and other than that, I don't think we really need that much to get this going, so this should be working. It isn't. Let me find out why. Oh, this is interesting. So, apparently, this thing is not working because it cannot... this thing is not working because it cannot offload the sour water. That means this one isn't working, and that means that we are not producing any diesel for the power, but because we don't have power, the sour water stripper isn't working, which is causing the problem in the first place. So there's kind of like a spiral going on here, because one thing isn't working, the other thing isn't working, but that's the reason the first thing wasn't working. So yeah, okay. As you can see, I have 0 power now, so this is a big problem. And ironically, we are not producing enough power because this power facility over here, which is not even close to enough, but still, it's not producing any power right now because it's actually unable to get rid of all its water. So that's not the biggest problem to fix, honestly, because we can just dump the water through, well, one of those pipelines if we want to. But I'm going to have to redesign this as well, because it no longer makes any sense compared to what we were doing before. I think for now the easiest solution probably is to just hook this up to this water. No, because this is actually full as well. We are not really consuming a whole lot of water anymore over here, mostly because I'm overproducing it, I think. So what I could actually do is turn off some of the water production over here, and then that problem should hopefully fix itself. Actually, a little bit of more of an elegant solution is just to hook this output line up to all the other production I was doing, and well, as you can see, that turned back on the cooling tower, so now we are actually going to be producing some power once again. This should turn on any moment now. There we go. Look, it's doing something again. Yes, maybe? Yes. So, it's not going to be producing a whole lot of power, but it at least is going to be producing some power now. So on top of that, I'm going to make sure this has a very high priority for the power, even if it's just for a moment, so this starts flowing again. And then that should mean we are going to be able to use all the other stuff as well. Now, I do have to be a little bit careful because we are producing a whole lot of sulfur, which I honestly don't have that many uses for just yet. So that actually makes me wonder, can I dump sulfur? It doesn't seem like I can. So this is actually going to be a problem because this storage is going to fill up. That again is going to mean the sour water stripper is not going to be working anymore. And then we're back to having troubles. So what I probably need is some way to get rid of the sour water I can't export. Well, this is not going to win any prizes for style, but I just built a huge pipeline all the way out here so we can dump some of the sour water if we need to. Now, I almost forgot. What was the next thing on my list? I think it was power. Okay, so I think the power issue can be solved pretty easily because we are now no longer using our high-pressured steam here for anything else other than, well, this factory over here making paper. This only uses a tiny amount. but everything else could be going into some more high pressure turbines. And as you can see, it only uses half of what I'm producing, so I might as well double up on this and make sure I don't have any power issues anymore. On top of that, I do believe I actually have a different power generator now as well that I recently unlocked. It's the low pressure turbine. So this one is actually turning the high pressure into steam. Now, can I put steam in the low pressure? Yes, that's the same icon, right? Yes, so I can actually use the steam once more to generate some more power. So that's actually going to be quite a massive improvement to my power production. Oh man, everything right now is a problem while I'm rebuilding, because as you can see, I'm no longer producing power, water, food, everything is an issue. I'm dropping in Unity. Oh man, it's such a mess. However, we should hopefully see the power coming online pretty soon now, because look, I have high pressure power, I have low pressure turbines, all of which is actually quite nicely lining up, as you can see. So we have some flywheels attached to that, then we have a cooling tower to make sure the steam, the depleted steam, is still turned back into water. Super efficient, and we can actually do all of that twice by the steam that we have from a single boiler. So if I did my math correctly, well, doing your math correctly is one thing, actually hooking up the steam to the turbine is useful, let's put it like that. But hopefully we should see that we are now going to be producing quite a bit of power. Now, I didn't actually hook these two things up. The alignment is a little bit off, which is slightly annoying to me. I'm not entirely sure what to do about that, if anything, honestly, because I can just hook all of this up. This seems to be working, so, well, we could probably leave it as it is. Did I actually? Yes. Oh man. There we go, that's better. Now it's actually connected. I'm not entirely sure how I managed to do that. But yeah, as you can see, these flywheels are running pretty hot, which is good because now we can actually produce way more power. And on top of that, this actually looks a lot more organized than it did before. So I'm still not 100% happy about this, but at least it's working like intended. We should now see, yeah, we have our health back up. The water isn't still quite where it needs to be, so that is probably going to have to be my next project, because due to all the changes, I don't necessarily think my water production setup makes a lot of sense. But at least it's working. We have plenty of workers actually now. We have, again, a positive unity. Let's actually check this out. So we'll actually be producing a bit more unity again once the food and electricity situation sorts itself out. Why is this low? This is probably just lagging behind, because as you can see, I'm producing way more electricity than I actually need right now. The water is still an issue, but yeah, this should be fixing itself pretty soon. Alright, so this was once again a major overhaul. I kind of like how this looks though. I'm a little worried still about this whole sulfur issue here. Mostly because we are now producing, well, we're actually overproducing rubber, and that means the sulfur is going to get stuck, as you can see here, pretty soon as well. But I have to end this episode somewhere, because I keep adding new small projects to this. Honestly, it's really fun to do that. Look, we're almost up to 100 diesel again. That is definitely working like intended. I am not entirely sure why all my trucks are manually picking up their diesel, because I do actually have a fueling station and I do actually have pickups assigned to that. I think this is just the backlog of the refueling not taking place, although with 100 vehicles I might need to add a couple more refuelers to this to make sure this stays working like intended. Actually, the diesel might also be going elsewhere, because of course I do need... Do I still need diesel elsewhere? Oh man, I don't remember. Anyway, like I said, I have to stop this episode somewhere. It is starting to look pretty nice and organized. Look, all the foundations filled in. So this is actually looking pretty nice and organized as well. So this is looking more like a TDA playthrough rather than just me messing around with a game I barely know what I'm doing. So Long story short, if you're still here after all this rambling, redesigning, and potentially failing my island, then you're definitely awesome, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.